Resorting to the Coast is a 2-year project where we're working with the community to change the public's perceptions of the Tendring coastal heritage and its seaside history. We're working with the local heritage groups in a series of different activities which engage people from a really broad, diverse sector of society. We have a weekend where we have a conference, a launch of 2 brand new heritage trails, one in Frinton and Clacton, and we also have a seaside revival day to celebrate the wonderful Tendring heritage.
We're here today to celebrate the launch of the Resorting to the Coast walking trails. I was commissioned by Essex County Council to design and manage the trails, something that I've done over the last 10 years. A large part of creating trails is working with the local community. We've got volunteers here that have helped with content and designing the concept of the trail itself. We've been incredibly lucky with the weather. We've had the leader of Essex County Council down to launch the trail for us, and John Barter has done a history talk about the area which illustrates the trail content. Frinton-on-the-Naze is synonymous with its famous railway gates, which you have to pass through to enter it, and we talk about this as part of our trail. And it's also famous for its modernist architecture. Created during the 1930s, the Frinton Park estate, designed by Oliver Hill, is now considered a beacon of modernist architecture. Trails are really important to local communities like this because they bring in tourism as well as involving locals, so it's important for health and fitness of local people. They can do it as a walk themselves, but it also brings in visitors to the area.
The interesting thing about the Clacton Trail, what we're trying to do is to show what Clacton was like when, in its heyday as a seaside resort. I mean, it was a really big seaside resort at one time, and what we're trying to show is the way Clacton's actually regenerating itself based on its past. I mean, for example, the Westcliff Theatre is really thriving now. It's 125 years old and still going strong. Other places like Butlins and the Palace by the Sea have gone, but they've been replaced by lots of new investment in places like the Pier and the Pavilion and so on, which are now themselves bringing in tens of thousands of visitors a week, just like it was before the war and in the 50s.
Our conference at the Columbine Centre in Walton has been co-organised with the University of East London and their volunteers and some of their lecturers. The talks have reflected on how we came about and where we were at the very start in terms of how the heritage was being represented in Tendring, and also not only just Tendring but what the wider public across the country perceived the history of Tendring to be for their seaside resorts. My interests lay behind the oral history stories we've been gathering. I recently interviewed a gentleman who's 96 years old, and he was recalling his childhood memories from Clacton 85 years ago. He'd actually met Clown Bertram, who's one of the most famous children's entertainers from this area. When you see how surprised people are when they learn about Tendring history, they discover a lot of new facts that just amaze them. The fact that Clacton used to have elephants bathing in the sea for performances over 80 years ago. They had 100,000 visitors in very short periods of time in the season. The entertainment used to be performed on the beach in the form of concert parties. I really enjoy seeing people's reactions as they learn more about what the history used to be like. And that's the whole point of the project, is to change people's perceptions.